In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Monday GMP, Munson here. Look at this with a new and real authentic green screen behind me. How are you this morning? Hola, Monday GMP. Munson here with Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. You like it? It's true. It's real. Might have to water these things behind me at some point. I'm hoping Mrs. M will be taking care of that kind of business. But how you doing, Andy Klein? Deagle's in. The several wise men of the Gumpocalypse have been in this morning, including the Ancient Mariner as well. Good morning, Portugal, he says. Where are you this morning, Ancient Mariner? Do let us know your location. Or is it a matter of some secrecy? Coach Turner's back. And yes, we've got a God Squad tip of the day. I hope you enjoyed your rest and had a lovely week last week, Coach Turner. And of course, Benjamin Stubbs will be augmenting your tip for the body with a tip for the mind and well-being at 10 o'clock this morning. He's got another one for us. And he'll be here with the free gift of breath, the 3-5 breathing technique, which he'll tell us all about at 10 o'clock this morning. Looking forward to having a great chat with him. And we'll extend our conversation to ask the question, how do we find happiness in tough times? Would you describe these as tough times? Depends, doesn't it? It's all a matter of perspective, subjectivity, and so on. But yeah, for sure. Some people are struggling at the moment, and there are quite a few things to struggle with, you could say, in the man-made world. And the search for happiness and well-being can become quite the challenge. So we'll do what we can to help you with that from 10 o'clock this morning. I do have literally a headshot. Do you want to see this morning a picture of Portugal's first serial killer dating back, I think, to the 18th century? Apparently, after he killed 70 people, they killed him and they cut his head off and put it in a jar where it remains to this day. I saw a picture of it. I don't know if you want to see that this morning, but what's quite bizarre about it, I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it, from top to bottom and from side to side, that they would sever the head of a serial killer. And maybe it's his human and morbid fascination to keep his head in a jar so that they could look at him and go, you don't want to end up like this, wrong, and in this jar like a big pickled egg. So I understand on some level the fascination, but it's also really eerie and creepy. And it's a bit of a kind of a rubberneck meme. Do you want to see it or not? I'm going to give you the choice, and I'll tell you if I show it so that you can look away and not rubberneck it into something you will never be able to unsee. Peter has, oh, excellent. Wait, is that you? Happy Eurovision post-Boxing Day, Carl. And I think there's a woman, you sent me a picture of yourself, Pete, and a woman with 3 breasts. So it's quite the show this morning, isn't it? What with the severed head of a serial killer in a jar, pickled, and Peter's picture of a lady. That's as far as I can make out on the picture. So I'm gonna show those by popular request or unpopular request, depending on which way you look at it. Loads to share with you this morning. I had a great weekend. Good morning to you, Ron, who I think will be listening to this on the podcast at some point. Sorry, a little bit distracted there, posting up a picture of a woman with 3 breasts. Yes, good morning, Ron. Although it may be good afternoon or good evening. I know you're a podcast listener. It's always great to chat with a podcast listener, the Cinderellas of the Good Morning Portugal community. And thank you for your feedback on the podcast. Yes, there are adverts in there now. And it's one of our multiple income streams. Many a mickle makes a muckle. So thank you for bearing with that. Do appreciate it. And what a lovely lunch we had. So thank you so much. It was lovely to meet you on Friday at one of my favorite haunts in San Martino de Porto. And that's Ron Mintz. Great to meet you, Ron, and looking forward to seeing you in the coming months and years. Yes, Pete is here. Bon dia, Algria. No, James, Diego, Andy. Yes, that is me with the lovely Luis, winner of our Eurovision. Oh, so it was fancy dress as well. Very good. Okay, we'll come back to that. I need to hold that and consider. It's a good job we're not policed by Ofcom. Or are we? I don't think we are. Is it like Portugal's version, POFCOM or something, PORCOM, maybe? I don't know if that is the case or not. But I began by saying we've got lots to share until I was distracted by the picture that you sent me, Pete. You look very happy with yourself. and why not? You look like a man with... Well, anyway, bon dia, Carl and Gumpers from a nice-looking blue sky Belfast. Not as warm as weekend. It should hit 14 degrees. However, we've got 18 on Friday and Saturday, 15 yesterday. Nice week ahead. Temperatures in the mid-teens. Cheers. And yes, of course, happy birthday. Parabéns to Kathy. How lovely. The Minister of Home Affairs' birthday yesterday. And Deagle took the opportunity, I think, if I remember rightly from Twitter. You like a bit of cake, don't you, Deagle? So you didn't miss your opportunity to have quite a lot of cake yesterday, including your favorite white chocolate. Plenty of birthday cake eaten yesterday. Minister of Home Affairs' birthday. So do send a lot of Gumper love to Kathy from us. Bon dia alegria from T-Duck. How you doing, T-Duck, this morning? You might not thank me for this, but apparently it is Diarrhea Awareness Week. Starts today. Runs till Friday. Right. Okay. Let's have a look at some video, shall we? The classic Monday morning video from Andy, by Andy. A little bit of cycling and then a bit more cycling from quite unexpected, I think. He chanced upon a cycling gathering. Have we got a still of that somewhere? We've got so many photos this morning. It's fantastic. Is this the one? Yes. If you look closely in this photograph here, you will see penny farthings, big-wheeled bicycles, and there's a bit of video of them as well. So let's have a bit of video. Give me a chance to have a little sip of water and then think about what else I'm going to show you this morning. It's a fantastic showing, actually, of photographs and videos from your weekend. So thank you very much. Send those to 913-590-303. And there's always something that gets forgotten, isn't there? It's James, of course, this morning at 9 o'clock. And Vitor joins us at 9:30. Let me just see if I've got a pre-made banner. Otherwise, I'll have to crack on with that while we're looking at the videos this morning. I don't think I do. I will come back. I'll make one of those while you're enjoying the video this morning. Check this out. Then this is Andy's first part of his video. And I think we're going to have to club together to buy him a dead cat, aren't we, at this rate? Choo-choo!
Here we are, come up to Bagheera, which then goes up to Vagos, which next Friday, I think it is, they've got the new museum, toy museum there, in a new location, free entry. Then in Bustos as well, they've got the radio and broadcasting museum, free entrance as well. Festival in Paredes de Bairro, with a lunch. With my neighbour's band, Hammer Diamota, playing. Living the dream, brothers and sisters. Here we are. Chabelas. Oh, that's one of those propellers off of the whatever you call it, wind generators, turbines. They make them near here. There's Nando partying hard.
Ah, there you go. You caught me with my banner-making trousers down there. I'll come back to that. But that's fantastic, Andy. Thank you so much. Love your Monday morning video of you out on your mum's shopping bike. Fantastic. And then you chanced upon the Mama Rosa. I think that's what you said. The Mama Rosa up in there in the Bairrada anyway. What an incredible part of Portugal that is. And a little bit of cycling action, a cycling event. That is not a cycling event, Carl. This is a cycling event.
They used to call those big wheels.
Expecting to see UK politician Jacob Rees-Mogg come past on a penny farthing during that. Have another look at this. It's really great. It's only 16 seconds, and the kids are in the middle there. And look at the fella on the big wheel bicycle. Not a penny farthing, but two big wheels.
They used to call those big wheels.
Little cycling outing. I've driven past that restaurant, Andy. What's it like? And it looks like you had a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much. Bye, Andy. All the work you do on the Gumper map and the video that you send in on Monday morning. You did see and possibly smell powdered wigs and powdered merkins. We're going to come back. I mean, that makes me think immediately of the Eurovision Song Contest. What was that woman doing with the butter churn? We'll get a little bit of video of that as well. And anyway, let's have a quick bit of video now before we look at the powdered wigs. What is going on there? I think you can still hear me, can't you, even though that video is playing? What is happening at Eurovision behind, is she called Hannah Waddingworth or something like that? The Portuguese entrant or part of the entourage is churning in the background. Look at that. Why? Not a powdered wig in that shot, but there were many, and there were some in the Algarve as well. Have a look at this procession of powdered wigs. This is a beautiful event. Thank you to Anna for this.
Yes. 15 euros.
That cut off suddenly. I'm being sent pictures of Chris's big erection as well in the background here. There's quite a lot going on this morning. But that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Anna, who is Swedish. So congratulations to the Swedish entry. Who doesn't like a Swedish entry first thing in the morning? I think we've got some stills from you as well. So much to share this morning, and a little bit jumbled in the picture bagging area. And some of my new friends who I met. Oh yeah, I'll come back to those lovely people, to Dan and Bev. Let's see some stills. Look at that. That procession is fantastic. A little bit of rouge on that young fellow there. These aren't just cheap outfits from the fancy dress, are they? There's a lot of work gone into these. These are absolutely beautiful. Isn't it lovely, this time in history when people used to really make an effort, powdering their wigs and putting on a tailcoat and gold buckled shoes. Absolutely lovely. Nowadays, what is it? A pair of cargo pants and, I feel naked without my new... there we go. Yes, people just bung on a pair of Crocs cargo pants and a manky old T-shirt from their favorite band, an old Led Zepp T-shirt, whatever. People have dressed up beautifully, as you can see here as well. This was a separate event. It wasn't a Eurovision thing, I don't think. But you could have quite easily been to this event and then gone to some Eurovision action as well. But lovely weekend here, says Anna, the 17th century festival. Is that Setentista Festival for 3 days in Villarreal de Sant Antonio. It's gone to some really nice effort there. Well done, everybody in the Villarreal de Sant Antonio. And the side shows, of course, including beautiful wood carving. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? That piece of work going on there. VRSA and a little bit of an abstract looking up, I think, at the tent over the performers and some beautiful Algarvian sunshine above. Absolutely lovely. And then in the evening, a fabulous firework display. I was out walking the dogs, I think, on Saturday night, and there were some fireworks in the distance. Portuguese people do love their fireworks. Absolutely. So well done, VRSA. Great weekend by the look of it, and that Anna had. And congratulations, Sweden. So we should have a look at the pictures from Eurovision and try and figure out what that woman is doing behind Hannah Waddingworth, or whatever she's called, at the Eurovision. Well, I saw on YouTube. Oh yeah, it wouldn't have been the BBC coverage, would it? I think it was. Oh, because it was in UK, the YouTube coverage was done by Graham Norton and Hannah Waddingworth, whatever she's called. Let's have a look at Pete's picks then from the Eurovision. I think it was a pool party as well, Pete. This is Chris, who was there. Oh, he's got his big selfie pole out. Yes, selfie poll first thing in the morning. Nice one, Chris. And runner-up, Andy, Lord Gilchrist here, as you've not seen him before. Second prize. Is that a piratical outfit you've got on there? Or are you just pleased to see me? And finally, the winner then. What is this, a local speciality? The three-breasted woman of Castelo Branco, I wonder. Pete, you really look like you're having a fantastic time. So it looks like a great time was had by all over there near Fundão. Great stuff. Did you enjoy Eurovision? You got to be in the right mood for it, haven't you? I thought some of it was god awful. Some of the sort of demonic displays that were also known as choreography. Some terrible songs as usual, but it's the kitchen camp fun, isn't it? Hijacked with a turbocharged by a political agenda underneath, obviously, with Israel and Australia in the Eurovision Song Contest. There's some sort of political shenanigans going on there, but if you just take it on the level of camp and kitschy fun, I guess you can have a great night. But something sinister lurks beneath, does it not, with the Eurovision? We're glad you had a great time in Fundão. They've still got the head of the severed head of Portugal's first serial killer to show you if you really want to see it. Oh, and of course, this was our opening slide today. Portuguese scented candles available. These are good, aren't they? And will be available, of course, way ahead of Christmas. You can have a pastel de nata. That custardy one. I can smell that already. The Bifana one. And saw somebody referring to a Bifana as Portugal's bacon butty. Is that right? And a Calda Verde scented candle as well. Excellent stuff. I think that's the Canadian group on Portugal. Canadians in Portugal Facebook group. That shared with that. Visual dad joke to come from James, who can take responsibility for that himself a little bit later on. Oh, let me share with you two friends that I met at the pit stop. This is the lovely Dan and Bev, who Bev said hi as I walked in to the pit stop. Lovely, friendly people who cook brilliant New Orleans style cuisine and do a few vegan specials. Not that I tried those, but I had some lovely fried fish with cornbread, mac and cheese, and beans and rice. It was really good, real soul foodie stuff. They are Soul Finesse, and we'll be seeing them again at the pit stop. They are residents there. Looks like they can turn their hand to a bit of vegan cooking as well. I'm going to get Dan on the show as well. He is a trainer of American football in the capital, and he's got a lovely story to tell about his first visit to Portugal with the military back in the day. Sorry, with the Navy back in the day. And has ended up in Portugal and was training a Portuguese American football team. And he'll tell us all about that, about how popular American football is becoming. And I imagine we'll talk to Bev as well at some point. But it was Dan who I got chatting to with other Carl, who's in the house somewhere here this morning. I had a great chat with Dan. And these are truly lovely people who cook beautifully. And they have big hearts, big plates and big hearts. is how I'll refer to them. And look, here's one of those big plates. This is some of my fried fish with cornbread. I don't often eat cake with my main course. I normally wait till the end. What is it with Americans and their cake during the course? The main course here. Beans. Can you see my beans there? And my rice. I'm salivating just looking at that, and the mac and cheese top of the picture. That was delicious. Thank you so much. Lovely to meet you both, Dan and Bev. And we'll get you on the show soon. And we'll see you at Pit Stop again soon as well. How are we liking the backdrop, the green screen, the real, authentic green screen? And let's have a look at what's coming in on. I was listening to Kate Del Amigos, Spain Speaks. Let's have a look at what's going on in the chat here. And we can see that there's a deep thought of the day coming in from Thunderduck. Deep thought, then, our life is what our thoughts make it. Marcus Aurelius, he's always good for a pithy and wisdomous quote, isn't he? Marcus Aurelius. His meditations, well worth having by the lavatory. Lavatorius Maximus. In your Kazi reading collection there, I thoroughly recommend Marcus Aurelius's meditations. And we move into, we find out a bit more about him. Marcus Aurelius Antoninus was Roman emperor from 161 to 180 AD. He was the last of the 5 good emperors. That sounds like a stage show, doesn't it? 5 guys named Mo. The 5 good emperors, everybody. Will you put your hands together, please? And the last emperor of the Pax Romana, an age of relative peace. Okay, says a lot, doesn't it? And yes, human history, it doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. We don't seem to be in an age of relative peace. All those sex-starved warmongers are intent, aren't they, on sharing missiles with each other and blowing people up. Oh dear, Amy, let me move on. Portuguese saying of the day. As paredes têm ouvidos, the walls have ears. Paredes, good Portuguese word, that, isn't it? As paredes têm ouvidos, the walls have ears. Now, the Covers band at Pit Stop did The Wall yesterday, and I remember that, triggered by that Portuguese saying of the day there. And Kane Sabia, how many regions are there in Portugal? I flashed you quickly there, but how many regions and how many autonomous regions are there in Portugal? Why, 5, of course. That's the Kane Sabia today. The subdivisions of Portugal are based on a complicated administrative structure, 5 regions and 2 autonomous regions. These regions are divided into 308 municipalities, the concelhos, which are further divided into 3,091 civil parishes. The heartbeat of local life, really, the little parishes, aren't they? The orifice where you have to go to get your atestado. Did I just say orifice? So 3,000 of them, just over 3,091 freguesias. To mine on Friday to attempt to pay my. I picked up my Revolut. I want to show you I want to do a reveal on my new Revolut card. It's got GMP on it. I don't know where that's gone. I'm sure it was on the desk here somewhere. I have to do that tomorrow. I have a Revolut card with GMP on it, and they finally managed to deliver it to me. I'm back in love with Revolut again, especially with those kids' accounts that you can have with them. I pay my kids pocket money direct into an account whereby they can have an app and see what's going on and learn how to manage money better than I do. Maybe. We shall see. So, yeah, I was in my Freguesia office, which is also the post office now, where I picked up my Revolut card and tried to pay my Portagens tolls, but their internet was down. They were nothing without their internet, basically. Urban centres have no legal authority, going back to the administrative structure of Portugal. Urban centres have no legal authority and are social constructs based on a series of institutional functions. Administrative power lies with the extra-territorial municipalities and parishes. Oh, it's sounding quite complicated, isn't it? These have authority in the constitution and may include various towns within each territory and may have their own constituent assemblies and executives. Are you following here? I've got a Bordalo too. He is the grandson, isn't he, of the Bordalo from Caldas de Rainha, the creator of Zé Povinho. Oh, I've got some food-based punnery as well, which I got to share with you this morning. Let me just share this picture whilst we're talking about politics. I'll give you this in just a moment. Yeah, but these have authority in the constitution. These are the administrative power bases locally around Portugal and may include various towns within each territory and may have their own constituent assemblies and executives. That'll be keeping the local politicians busy then, won't it? with all those meetings, endeavouring to get things done for people and enjoy and use their power responsibly. Here's Bordalo 2's view of people using power responsibly. Talking trash, he calls it. A wheelie bin. Do you have these in the United States? We don't have a lot of them here, do we? We have a dumpster in the street in Portugal. The communal waste bin. It's a bit like the street equivalent of the water cooler. You can meet your neighbours at the dumpster, but here a wheelie bin used well by Bordalo 2 outside the governmental centre nexus of Portugal. There, well done, Bordalo 2. Oh, I've got to get used to this thing, haven't I? I'll see what James thinks of it in just a moment. Let's see, before we go to James and play his marvellous theme tune, all that's missing from my backdrop is a cowboy hat. Not a cowboy hat! But it's too late, James. We think of it as a cowboy hat hanging up in the back. And we take signs from it, like hobos as well. We can see if the cowboy hat is hung in a certain position, it means something's going on there at Banana Slug HQ. Do you want to see the severed head of a serial killer? This morning, you've seen the three-breasted lady. No, James doesn't. We might do. He's holding his hands up for that one. Does not want to see that. Oh, I promised you food-based punnery, didn't I? And I've got. Oh yes, this is a menu, as well as discovering the wonderful food of Dan and Bev yesterday. And here it is again, just to whet your appetites for those of you who love Southern American food. Whilst I was walking about in San Martino over the weekend, it's been a busy one. I had a great weekend, very productive. Look at this. There's the Zay Polvino. Get it? That's a salad of octopus with fish sauce, sweet potato, and tonkatsu octopus salad. Is that like a katsu? Wow. So a katsu sauce, possibly octopus salad with fish and tonkatsu sauce, sweet potato. Salade de polpa. Au tonkatsu e sauce au poisson e patate douce there. So that is which one of the hostelries is that in San Martino? It might be it's not the San Martino Bistro. Forgive me. I'll make a fuss of them another time. In fact, what I'll do is I think I need to go in and try that and report back to you on the Zay Polvino. I think we are complete with everything that I wanted to bring you that's been shared. We still haven't. So thank you, Andy, and thank you, Anna, for your lovely submissions on 913-590-303. That's, of course, the same number for Benjamin Stubbs, who will be joining us at 10. We didn't do the God Squad tip of the day, did we? I'll come back to that before we talk to James this morning. But we still haven't figured out, is this person exercising? Is that some form of God Squad exercise in the background there? Churning butter. It sounds like a yoga. The churning of the butter does sound like a yogic prana, doesn't it, or posture? I think there's loads of comments I've missed out on. Let's just quickly do these, and we can carry on with them, of course, when James has joined us. Coach Turner is back then. Bon dia, Gumpers. Back into our Monday routine with child wrangling, so off shortly. We'll catch up later. God Squad tip of the day from him. Not so much a tip, but thought it might be useful to talk about the body's energy systems and how they affect what you do. There are three main energy systems to consider: the anaerobic, the alactic, the alactic anaerobic, the lactic and aerobic. In short, fast and powerful, nearly as fast and painful, and long and slow. Oh, I say. And who doesn't like it long? You're ahead of me there. And who doesn't like it long and slow? In the morning, more tomorrow. Oh, promises, Coach Turner. Is it just me, or is the voting system for Eurovision awful? No, it's not just you. It is awful, and it's tortuous. It should be the host country with 4.5 musical people. What's this? From that country judging every song on performance, not this hullabaloo. Not a happy customer. Some performance songs awful. How come countries put out earlier in week at semi-final stages? Beyond me. He's not happy, is he? Andy Klein is here. Good morning, Andy. I watched Eurovision for the first time. I really like Mimi Cat. Yeah, that's grown on me. Scratched my head over Germany and Croatia. There is head scratching to do for sure. Francis, good morning to you. Good morning, everyone from Andy, and good morning to you, Francis. Bon dia, todos. Feliz semana novo. And Nuno is in as well, everybody. Good morning. I wish you all a happy week. Top man. Cheers, Nuno. Owen is in as well. Lots of good news coming from Owen over the weekend, and beautiful photographs as well. Munching on twiglets, courtesy of Capricorn 12 and his lovely wife this morning. Who doesn't like to munch on a twiglet? Bon dia, Pashol, from an ever-changing Barrada, I'm sure it is. And happy birthday, greetings to Paul as well. Paul's birthday yesterday. Greetings from Porto, back to the Algarve today. Hope you had a great time. If a little bit lighter in the wallet, Paul. Oliver Plunkett's head on display in Ireland, Drogheda. So show the head. I can't. James doesn't want us to. We'll do it when he's gone. Hi, Nunu. Trying to drum up some business for you. Good man. On the road and drumming up business. See Medway and die, they said. This is your chance. Be there from 8 o'clock. Bring your Greg's loyalty card. Is that where you are? You're in Medway. Look like a Dutch lady churning cheese. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. And we'll come back to these after we've played his theme tune, because he's here now to share his insight and reflection on being an American here in Portugal with a little bit of mindful migration magnificence after this.
Bom dia!
Olá, bom dia, tudo bem?
Sim, muito bem. Obrigado. E tu?
Muito bem. I'm pouco cansado hoje.
Sim?
Yeah. It's been a busy one. It's often, do you know what, James? It's often really nice to be back with you on a Monday morning, just taking it easy and having a bit of a breather after the busy weekend. So thank you.
Thank
for
you.
affording me. Yeah, nice, easygoing
It
start.
is a lovely way to start the week for me as well.
Yeah, oh, good. I'm so glad. So there you go. You are one of these special guests. Do you like the new logos and greenery and everything that's going on the screen?
I do like the background. Green, life-affirming stuff is always good for me.
It is, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
Rather than an AI background, we've got the real deal. Everything seems to be about AI. I was
Kind of like my green, life-affirming background.
Yours is natural and real, isn't it? You know, the not a cowboy hat at the back.
Yeah, the not a cowboy hat. Yes,
cowboy hat. It is reassuring. Like we've said before, you are the what's he called? The fella from American Culture, not Uncle
I
Fred.
forget his name. Yeah, no.
What's his name?
You're talking about
Rogers, Mr. Rogers.
No. Mr. Rogers is where we started.
Right.
I'm avoiding
Frazier.
The other one. I'm avoiding that one.
He's listening.
What was it? Keeler Garrison?
Yes!
Something was sort of my original inspiration in terms of the thinking about the approach.
Well, here's the thing on that. I'm so glad you reminded me about this, because yes, Mr. Rogers was one. The reassuring, warm slippers feeling of Mr. Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
We've got that with you, haven't we? Do you like being compared to warm slippers?
Something like that?
Yes, something exactly like that. Comforting and reassuring after a hard day or in times of trouble. And then he went on to Garrison Keillor, didn't he? Prairie Home Companion, which you
yes,
and I started watching the videos of their performances, and they are superb. Again, reassuring, fun for all the family, good, clean fun from back in the day.
Just old folks just kind of doing their daily thing in their small town, and him sharing it, very folksy kind of feel.
Yes. And we go well with the food, wouldn't it, that I was showing off this morning as well. Do you like a bit of cornbread with your main course? What is that about? Did you like the look of that? Fried fish, beans and rice?
It did not. That's not a meal I would serve up for myself.
Okay, all right. Well, me neither, because I wouldn't know how to. It's not.
Individual pieces, but not all together on the same plate. Then
it's a blowout, isn't it? That is a big blowout. I think I had 2 lots of that.
But the fried chicken and cornbread is kind of a standard sort of thing.
Okay, yeah. Well, he said, I'm from Georgia, the capital of frying in America.
Yeah. That would work in the deep South or the South.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Sure.
I think Bev she bakes the cakes as well. But I don't know if did he say she was from Florida? That's not the. Is that the capital of baking? Possibly, but they between them they make some real good food. So looking forward. Look at a lovely photo of them. They're fantastic folks. Soul Finesse. We will have them on the show in due course. All about the comfort. Then we took Garrison Keeler, Mr. Rogers. Not so much with Fraser. He's a bit edgy and jangly, isn't he? So I can understand why you don't like that comparison so much. So,
although I will take Fraser over Dr. Phil any day. So
yes, okay, it's all relative, isn't it?
It's all relative, right?
No, I watched a lot of those Prairie Home Companions, and they are superb. And he does a podcast as well, Garrison Keeler. And I'm reminded, as a result, of an idea that me and Mrs. M were reflecting on in a brief moment of tidying up studios and gardens and house in anticipation of guests and so on. About our idea to have gatherings, maybe one every month around the country of Portugal, and in a different town, like a discovery weekend. And it could have a bit of a Prairie Home Companion vibe on the Saturday night. I'm thinking, some people rock up on a Friday. Let's say we're in the Algarve for the first one, and Frank's there with the drink ready on arrival, bit of food. Some of us might rock up on a Friday. We could have breakfast together on the Saturday. And then meet for a brunch as well, or a lunch somewhere. Then and then a wander around the town on the Saturday. Then Saturday evening, some entertainment. And let's have some local Portuguese entertainment, but maybe some Garrison Keeler vibes as well, because we know that the Gumper community is very talented. So there could be quite the gathering on a Saturday night. Breakfast on Sunday, and then another tour guide on Sunday, and then we drift home and we look forward to the next one. The next weekend. I would love to do something like that. I don't know.
Sounds great.
It does, doesn't it? Hang out with Gumpers, meet new friends, avoid old ones, all that sort of thing. I think it's got legs, and we were thinking of starting it in the autumn. Let's wait till the tourist season has ended here in Portugal and let everyone do their thing for summer. But let's pick it up. Let's not feel a sense of summer saudade. Let's have a party in the autumn in a gathering. Does anyone want to put
No. Hang on.
All right, back up the truck. I
have not experienced a summer saudade. It goes on into November. There's no end to the summer. There's parties. There's a party happening somewhere in Portugal every single weekend. So
yeah, you're right.
I don't hear sadness over the end of parties in Portugal. That is not, or the missing of parties. That yearning. It's like, no. There's always something available.
It's true, isn't it? But I think, okay, you're right. It's not September, is it? And then just as
it's just a lowered intensity. It's still happening. It's just not like 55 events every single night in every single city. It's down to about 10 or so instead of 50.
Exactly. But, Portugal is like a party capital of Europe, isn't it? But so understated about it. It's incredible. And it could promote itself on that basis. There's always some fireworks going off, or some barbecue, or some bicycles going past, or people in powdered wigs or whatever. So I take your point. It's not saudade, is it? It's a slight lull. We might miss the summer.
It's a decrease.
It's a decrease, but only till Christmas, when it all starts again anyway.
Yes.
If anyone wants to offer their town as a host for the first one, I think September is our first month, and so let's do that. Let's have a gathering. Let's have a riot. You would call it, James, right?
Yes, a Gumper gathering. Get the riot together. Yeah.
Get the riot together for that. Okay, so looking forward to that. I will take a few more comments, and then we'll go into your insight and reflection for a Mindful Migration Monday. And I'm sure you may want to chip in with these. You went back to the tight close-up. Closer, I missed not being able to count your nose hairs. I think
that's an interesting.
It is, isn't it? There's no prizes for guessing the right amount, by the way. Nice new studio layout. I do miss the green screen cockerel. He's here. He's already on the screen.
Yes,
and the bright morning vibes it gave. It looks a bit.
How do I get my fingers to work? Right there.
Stroke my cockerel. Okay. Oh, stop it. That's a new Bond movie. Baddie stroking cockerel. It looks a bit grey behind you. Okay, well, we'll light that up. We'll light that up. We've got some blue going on for you, Dougie. Maybe Dougie needs some extra love and light, recuperating in hospital. How's it going, Doug?
But you do have a sun in the fog behind you. That's kind of a nice effect.
The what? Say that again.
Well, I can't point to it, but it's to the upper left of your head. It looks like the sun coming through the fog.
It's a light, but yes, it is a nice lighting effect, I would say.
It's all about how you see things, right?
Isn't it just? Is that your insight and reflection for this week? I'm sure it is.
No, for this moment.
For this moment. It's okay. And let's just a quick catch up then, because there's some talk about Eurovision as well. What did you think that lady was doing? And I use the term loosely. What's going on there with this?
Well, clearly she's churning. It's the facial expressions that are like confusing me. Like she's enjoying that churning a little too much, I think.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Like, what is going on? Like, if you're churning, I don't know if that's better. I don't know what's going on there, but the facial expressions, yeah.
She looked Dutch. She had Portuguese flags behind us, but she looked like a Dutch lady churning cheese, as though that's a thing. I've never heard of a Dutch lady churn. I'm sure it goes on, but
well, if you can churn butter, I guess you can churn cheese. I don't know. I don't know anything about the cheese making.
Oh, I see what you mean, churning
process.
Cheese. Okay, you don't. Where have you been? Okay, very.
I wasn't raised right. My childhood back there on the prairie, I just never learned the churning thing.
It's a hole in your childhood, but it's never too late. It's never too late. Maybe Vitor Costa can help us with that. He might know about a thing or two about it when he joins at 9:30. Very cool parade and a solution to Andy and your own hirsute issues. A great selection of headpieces, although I am still want to prefer a good comb over. I'm sure there's a comb over festival in Portugal as well, in a small town.
More than likely.
Oh, isn't there? And it's down to what a guy with one really long strand that he curls up with his head and takes a lot of trouble. Oh, oldest dog. I don't know why I'm going from that to this, but oldest dog in Portugal, in the world, in fact, celebrated being 31, I think. Oh, that's a ripe old age, isn't it, for a dog?
Yes, it is.
A ripe old aroma, a 31-year-old dog as well. Why were men not bald in the 1700s, or did they wear wigs? Yes, I don't think that was their own hair. Perhaps Pete says it is the era generally referred to as the PCO. If historians of note would know this pre-comb over days. You, San Martino Deportes, should do a keep fit session once a week at that pit stop place. All right, by Andy, sounds good. They may well do that. Got a dance floor in there, be perfect.
Don't you love it when people give advice for other people to do things?
Especially when it's
you should do that.
Did you just shit on me?
You should exercise. It looks like a great place for you to exercise.
Look, yeah, I'm not being funny or anything, but these potato sacks are for you. No, Northern Ireland goes to the polls to vote for the councils. Very flat canvassing. Only one party popped a leaflet in the letterbox. No one cares today, sadly, it would seem. Antonio is here. Bon dia todos this morning.
Hola, Antonio.
Hola, hola. And bon dia, James. Good to see you here.
Hola, Nuno.
Hola, bon dia, James. From Pete as well. Moving to Europe means a joy of Eurovision. Ludicrous voting as straight as a Portuguese wall. A chance to get your worst outfit.
I like that one. Straight as a Portuguese wall. That's a good one.
Did you watch it? Did you have any sense?
No, I don't watch the Academy Awards. I'm just not a glitz and glory kind of viewer.
Well, yeah. If you don't like glitz and glory, stay well away from the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah.
Pon Lima is in. Hey, Owen. Looks like you had a great weekend, mate. And yes, Carl. Antonio says that dog lives near Laria and the backstory is fantastic because he nearly didn't make it. He was saved by the kids, wasn't he? I love that story.
Yeah. And the perspective on it, that dog is more than twice the age of the most oldest dogs. That's like really old for a dog. Most dogs, 14, 15, maybe. unless they're really big dogs and they live shorter, tend to. But 31, that's
30.
incredible.
He's not a small dog. He's quite a big fella, like a Labrador size. And apparently he just eats household scraps. And he does. I mean, he goes against all contemporary veterinarian advice, really, doesn't he? He doesn't eat
I think
special
it's the
food.
love that sustains him, right?
Well,
He was loved by that boy. He saved his life. He said, "I've got to live a long time."
Wow. So it should be a movie, shouldn't it? This is
Be a tearjerker, I'm sure.
Wouldn't it just? It's amazing. And it comes to a point in a movie where the dog's going to outlive the guy, possibly.
Right. That's the dog's purpose. You saved my life. I've got to live longer than you.
108 now, and they're both.
Or they die together.
Or the dog takes the man
all
out.
Huddled up, loving each other. It's been a great life, and off they go. Wouldn't that be a tearjerker?
Near an iceberg. No, that's going too far, isn't it? That's amazing. We need to get in touch and sign them up before anyone else does, before Disney get in there. I don't know if Disney make movies like that anymore, but that is a great idea. Wow. Okay. Insight, reflection, mindful migration. James, what have you been thinking? Because I know you do a lot.
I love that. A lot. That is perfect. Yes. As usual, I have some things left over from last week. There's something about me that doesn't want people to be confused about something I say or whatever. And I realized when I was watching the replay, I said, "Oh, that sounded like I was." One example, I was talking about we hear our accents, and then I made a reference to Americans, and I realized that sounded like only Americans can hear their accents. That's not what I meant at all. I meant we, by whatever country we're from, we and our people from that country can always hear the accent from that country because it's what we're familiar with. So I just wanted to clear that up. I wasn't trying to be American-centric. Matter of fact, that's way down my list of things. But it's true when you think about it. People, one of the first time I was aware of it, I was attending a weekend workshop kind of thing, and there were breakout sessions, and it was adults working with high school age kids, and one of the adults was Australian, and one of the American girls says, "I love your accent," and he says, "And I love yours." And it's like, oh, that's right. We have an accent too, because you can't hear your accent. You only hear other people's accents.
Yeah.
So to me, that was a awakening moment. And then in Ericeira, when I heard Americans talking, it's like, oh, there's a group I can hear. Oh, there's someone talking. You can identify specifically where the accent's coming from because it's familiar to you. So
but you
that's why
you mentioned it was a survival matter. It's hardwired, isn't it? If you hear your name mentioned in a noise, you can pick it out. And I think it's the same. If you hear the voices and sounds that you're familiar with growing up, you will gravitate towards them.
Yeah, it probably has to do with, tribal association, being with your tribe is the safest place. Yeah, I have that experience in Portuguese all the time with Sidonio and Luisa talking. Yeah. Because it sounds like this. James. James. Yes. That's what I hear. It's like, okay, they're talking about me.
Yeah, and then an extra one at the end. James?
Yes.
Yeah.
And typically when it's done, then Louisa will say, did you know we were talking about you? Or yes.
Got the gist.
Well, and then she'll explain it. But
there's another level of it, though, isn't there? When you go beyond that and you've moved abroad and you then avoid rather than gravitate towards people who sound like you sometimes as well.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I shared that experience on the train, and it's not fair, and it's not really... It's this irrational dislike for some reason. There's probably a psychological term for it, a dislike for people who remind you of where you're from. And even talking about it, it's like, okay, that's shadow work. That's looking at what you don't like about yourself, clearly. All right, whatever that is. But
there is a term for it. And I think Lord Gilchrist was talking about it the other day.
Yeah, I remember he brought that up.
It's not
anyway, yes.
Yeah, it's somebody did coin the term of being embarrassed of your own race or people. And there's a lot of that about at the moment. Yeah, for sure.
Well, especially when you aspire to be different than how they're behaving. It's a sort of reminder of, oh my God, did I ever behave like that? Or am I doing that now? Are people perceiving me the way I'm perceiving them? All of that stuff can be going through your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the ego says, of course not. You're brilliant and everybody loves you. So
yeah, that's right. And
they're the ones who are screwed up.
Yep, and you're getting extra virtue signaling points by publicly speaking about it as well.
See, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah. All about the ego.
Yes. Any other corrections then? That's very thoughtful of you to be cleaning up your performance from last week.
Yes. Well, the Bronx cheer thing, I was thinking about that because I had a little more time to think about it.
Oh, really?
And yes. And because there was this association with the sound that it makes, and it clearly makes the sound, but the motivation behind the sound isn't like being a middle school age kid trying to make a fart noise. That's one reason to make that sound. The Bronx cheer, while it makes a nearly identical sound, is more like a boo, like boo. So it's like phooey, go away. Like it's more, the intention is more like that when you refer to it as a Bronx cheer. And then of that, of course, like I said, oh, we also call it a raspberry. Wonder why that is. I didn't work that one out, but also is a raspberry in English, American English anyway. So clarification on the Bronx cheer.
Well, hold it right there. Don't go anywhere with your Bronx cheer, because this is the actual what I was referring to, which may bring back a flood of memories for various grown-ups here from when they weren't grown-ups. And this is what I was referring to, the whoopee cushion.
Yes.
When anyone
I had one of those as a middle school age kid.
Yeah, isn't it great? What? How old were you when you had yours?
About 12, 13,
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
The age that most men just stop maturing at.
Yes, yeah, of course, and just hanging there for the rest
11,
of their life.
12, 13, somewhere in there. Yeah. That's it for life.
When anyone sits there, the perfect illustration here.
Oh, there it is. A real Bronx cheer. I see that.
It emits a real Bronx cheer. Do not inflate too heavily. Made in China.
Made in China. I saw that at the end of yes. Okay. So a whoopee cushion that does a Bronx cheer that's made in China. How international can you get?
Globalization right there in one amusing product. Okay, so that's Bronx cheers sorted out.
Yes, Bronx cheer. I was going to share a photo that I did of the Espinho Farmers Market. Not the market. Well, it was actually an aerial map with the size of the market marked out. I was trying to figure out how to share that and couldn't get that figured out. So I sent it to you on WhatsApp. It's not even that critical, but it just, to me,
oh my word.
Yes, it's huge. The size. You look at the size of the city and the length of the coast, and you put the market in there. I have it outlined in yellow. When you get it lined up, it's just unbelievable. I mean, for me, and in America, it's like, oh, we have the biggest and the best everything. Yours isn't big. Ours is the biggest there is. And I'd never seen a market this size. Even
it
the
is
large,
half the length of the beach, isn't it? Half the length.
Yeah,
and this is how you do it. Is it you promenade through the whole market?
And you can't even see the end of it because you've got your ticker tape running through it. I mean, it even goes farther than that. So and of course, you mentioned the grid, which is interesting too. So this goes more to people who are curious about Portugal and places in Portugal. That is a very, very unique layout in my experience in Portugal. It's all perpendicular and parallel.
Yeah.
And as I said last week, all the streets are numbered. They don't have names, they're numbers.
What is it about the founding fathers of Espinho then that made them do this, I wonder?
I don't know if it's a more modernly developed area or whether they had, like I know a lot of Lisbon was reorganized because of the earthquake, maybe something like that. I don't really know why. I just noticed it's like, wow, that is very unique. Yes. And that beach, by the way, what you see, the length of the beach is about, from bottom to top, it's probably well over 5 kilometers.
Is it really?
So you put the market in relative to that, it's like crazy long.
I already don't want to go. I mean, no, already, I'm not looking forward to that. No,
well, and beyond that, it was so crowded, literally shoulder to shoulder. You couldn't move without touching another human being.
Yes.
So that walking through it is like you take a step and you wait, you take a step back, you go around somebody stops in front of you have to stop. It's not just sort of a casual, leisurely, walk down the lane. So to cover the distance that I covered took me well over 2 hours, and I didn't even get 2/3 of the market covered, just not even stopping, just trying to walk to see it. So I just wanted to really try to bring home the point that if you're ever in Espinho on a Monday, you definitely need to take that in. And maybe because of the buildup, you'll be disappointed.
Or avoid it.
But,
yes.
like I said, it's nearly a kilometer long. Incredible. And probably 40 meters wide at the widest point.
I'm sure you can get a whoopee cushion there as well. Everything. I'm
everything
sure
except furniture.
I'm guessing that China send a delegation every year. There must be a lot of Chinese stuff sold there.
Could well be, yeah.
So thank you so much. Here's some Chinese delicacies, but as a token of our appreciation for all you do here at Espinho every Monday, and of course all the Chinese shops in Portugal. Now, you make an interesting point about the grid, and Darren is saying I still get confused with the Porto layout. Antonio F saying old cities, old layout. Folks, which do you think has the best layout of a town or city in Portugal? I love Tomar and how it's laid out and how manageable it is. There's the river, there's the children's playground beyond the river, there's the cafe by the river, there's the park by the river. Come into town, there's the main Templar Square. These are the little lanes off it. Go down there to the train station and the bus station. I love how Tomar is laid out. It's intuitive, it's ancient, and it's
orderly.
It's orderly, but it still has surprises around the corners.
Yes.
It's not a grid.
But not straight lines, yeah.
Caldas d'Aranha, what are you like? I still can't get. I mean, I go to Caldas most weeks, and it is such a confusing place how things relate to each other. And Darren obviously having the same thing with Porto. So I don't know if you're with me. I'm getting a call here from Sweden. Should I answer it? Do you think?
Why not?
It might. Do you think it's from the Eurovision team in Sweden?
Or maybe
in that case, I'm not going to answer. Right.
Could be someone trying to sell something. Who knows?
Sweden. See, sometimes some of these sales telemarketers mask their numbers, don't they, to make you think, "Oh, Sweden, that's interesting. I'll answer that." Maybe I have a long lost relative there, so I'm going to. They're obviously not watching the show, or they are, and they're just trying to mess me up. Do you have a favorite in terms of layout, James?
Truth is, I haven't been to that many different places. Okay. I've been in Ericeira the longest, and I'm still confused when I'm walking around. I'm beginning to understand this is in relation to this, but it's at least the initial experience for me, it's the opposite of orderly. It's disorderly. Right. It just feels almost random, with the exception of the Praça da República, which is, okay, that's a fairly standard landmark place in a lot of villages and towns. And then, of course, the ocean is always going to be in the same place. So there's no getting disoriented with that unless you get turned around within the city. But I go into the villa almost every week with Sidonio and Luisa. And of course, parking is an issue in many places, and especially on busy weekends. So we park off to the edge somewhere, and I go, where is this? I've never seen this place before. Yes. And then we get out of the car and we start walking, and we're going down this street and up this street, and they know exactly where they're going. And I'm like completely confused. Like if I wasn't with them, I'd have no idea what direction I'm heading, except maybe by using the sun and the shade, any of that. And then we come out on a street, and I go, "Oh, I know this street." Yes. So it's like,
exactly.
To me,
would never have guessed you were that close to that particular place.
There's still a lot of confusion even within that, and I think that's a more standard layout. I think
I think
Porto feels similar to that. Porto is. There's curves and there's hills and there's different things. So it's just bigger. It's a city.
You hail from the United States where it's more grid-like. Is that why that's happening to you?
Could be, yeah. Familiarity is part of it. I mean, I know Luis and Sidonio only know where they're going in Ericeira because they've walked those streets, I don't know how many thousands of times over the last 20 years. So they just, it's a familiar forest to them. To me, I just went into a bunch of trees and went, I'm completely disoriented. Okay. And quite frankly, even in Espinho, which is all laid out in a grid, I didn't know what part of the grid I was on because I was not familiar with it. Right. So it's just like every other street, like so there's that kind of confusion where everything is so similar, you can't make distinctions. So somewhere in there is a balance. And I think that's what you found in the,
I
forget the
you
name.
need your landmarks, the bra and sock shop on the corner of the market there. That can be
right.
Because it stays.
Yeah. I walked around several blocks a couple of times to locate a small shop that I was specifically looking for that I had seen when I was walking before. It's like it was somewhere in this area.
Yeah,
that was in Espinho. Like, but which square block was it on? I did find it eventually, but it took a while. So.
Well, we've got a man from the north joining. Before he does, do you have a main sort of gist of mindful migration material this morning that he can enter into?
Sure, I think Vitor might have a lot to say about IMT, but that's where I was going to go today.
Oh, okay. He's left the building. He heard IMT and now he's gone. No, he's.
Oh, I'm sorry, I scared him.
Yes,
shush. No severed head for me, no IMT for him.
Let's give him a nice No, he's a legend and he's still here with us. Vitor. Oh,
IMT.
That's not working, is it, when I do that? So for this part, if I didn't think this through with my with my layouts, so we're going to have to do this while we're talking. That's better, isn't it? Vitor,
there we go.
To you. Let's see who's through the Portugal door.
Bom dia, Vitor.
Bom dia. Como está a tua tia?
Muito bem, obrigado.
Como está a tua tia?
A tua tia? That sounds great. We've got to bring that in. Like, bom dia, alegria. Como estás a tua tia?
How are you and your aunt? How are you and your aunt? Is that a correct translation?
Está? Singular. So how is your aunt?
Okay.
And is that a thing? Is that a Portuguese thing? How's your aunt?
No, I just figured out something that rhymed.
Because it's a bit like in England saying like Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, which I won't go into.
Yeah, I guess. But there's no saying that I am aware of.
Okay, but we'll pick it up.
People will often say like a tua prima, like your female cousin. As in, it's kind of a way to tell someone to F off. I don't know why they say a tua prima.
Is that right?
He's only
now I'm trying to remember what I learned. I learned a couple of weeks back. Go bathe the dog.
Yes.
I can't remember the direct translation, but another brushing off. Go bathe the dog.
I guess it's similar to your mom. You know,
your mama. Okay, yeah, your cousin. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Vitor. Incredible value. You've only been here a minute, and you've given us a new catchphrase. Como estás tua tia? And go see your cousin. Thank you very much. People pleased to see
you next week.
See you next week.
Well done.
Vitor. Francis, pleased to see you. As is the Squire of the Shires. Morning to you.
Bon dia.
Vitor. My electricity. I'm going to get a call soon on. I've done the bit where I need, because the last time we were together on the screen, it got a bit sort of awkward because Mrs. M was saying, I don't care, do what you want with the electricity. It's you that's going to have to pay it.
Yeah. Sorry about sleeping on the couch, by the way.
I didn't hear her say she didn't care. I heard her say it's all on you, buddy. That's what I heard.
Like in brackets.
Do what you want.
Do what you want.
Words.
Go talk to your cousin about it.
I care a lot, but I'm not getting involved. That's your stuff.
Sort it out with Vitor.
That's right. Vitor. Just leave me out of it.
So far, Vitor, I've sent you my my details, and isn't it great when you're a Portuguese citizen, you can send your Portuguese card, or you're a resident, you can send your ID card as a way of shortcutting many of the processes. It proves it's me, and me that wants to pay this new tariff for electricity. But as yet, I've not heard from anyone. They're going to call me. They're going to call me soon, are they? And get me signed up with all the details.
Yes. We sent another request for our contract to be an index as well, because we were on a fixed rate. So that should be about the same time for us as well. That being said, you were talking about the card. That's the one thing I find interesting in Portugal, is that in certain aspects, like real estate, it's like, what kind of jungle is it here? Like when you compare, for example, to America, how everybody has a license and everything is done like very professionally, or it should. Well, here it's like the Wild West. People have no idea what they're doing, and it's all very weird. On other things, they're super far ahead. Like now, things are becoming even more effective. Now there's this chave móvel digital. So I actually have now my ID card and driver's license in my phone.
Oh.
As valid as if I had the actual physical card. So if I'm pulled over by the cops or whatever, if I need to sign a document or any legal stuff, that app works. It can also generate a QR code that they can validate it at the place. And also, last year, they approved a law where now you'll be able to sign deeds and other kinds of official documents remotely, like through Zoom. The thing is, for that, it does require you to be a Portuguese citizen. More specifically, you need to have a citizen's card. But on that regard, it is evolving quite a lot.
It is, isn't it? Look at this. So this is a chave móvel, a digital. This is the digitalization of Portuguese governance and affairs and management, citizen management.
Send us the link.
Okay.
I want that.
You can't do it as a resident. You have to become a full-on citizen for this one.
As far as I'm aware, yes. At least for the citizen's card, of course. And I'll tell you too, this is all fairly recent. The reason why I now understand this a bit better and why I have it is actually because of the guys that do the electricity contracts. Because I was in there at their place, and they helped me create it. You need to use a card reader. They put it on the computer. They activated it. I associated my phone and my phone number with it. Now it's all set up. And, the best part is when I went and did that, I actually forgot my citizen's card there. And then I had a few deeds that I needed to sign as like a translator or something of the sort. And then I used the phone to take care of that. But now I do have my card back. So.
Whoa. Okay. So interesting. We have you out there in the field testing these things for us. This is fantastic. So broadly speaking, then you're a fan of this new system, are you?
Oh, and one more thing it allows you to do, you can actually, like any PDF, you can download the government app. You can select to sign with chave móvel digital. You upload the document. You can even type out the reason for the signature or whatever. It will send you a text message confirmation code. You confirm it. You need to log in as well. And then the PDF will become digitally signed with your signature. It's certified. It has all of the government validations and whatever, and it becomes a legal signature.
I've mixed feelings about this, I've got to say.
Me too.
On the face of it, yes, on the face of it, it sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? But how long till a digital implant goes with it? I wonder.
Well, and hacking, the possibility of how can people access your information more easily, all those kinds of questions that come up anytime you're sharing private information.
And the government tracking everything you do.
Exactly. That's the worst aspect of this, isn't it? That does sound quite open to deep fake abuse.
There we go. Yeah.
Every time something comes out, somebody's working on how to hack it or abuse it. I'm kind of glad residents are not able to do that. So which one was that then? And those digital documents on your phone only work if the authorities also have a device to check its validity, which they don't.
Probably.
I would imagine that you would take the usual 3-year administration process to reach the deepest, darkest fund out as well. So Pete's breathing a sigh of relief. I mean, over the weekend, I did see somebody posting up, how about a cashless, or how long will it take to have a cashless society in Portugal? Portugal is, I mean, my response to that was Portugal is brilliantly set up for a horror of that kind, isn't it? With the NIF, with the, you know, how everything is tracked, as you say, and the multi-banco system, MBWay, we're some way towards this vision, are we not?
Perhaps, although I'm not entirely convinced that that will be the case. And it has a little bit to do, I guess, with the Portuguese government in a way, because the way taxation and all of those things are set up here in Portugal, it makes it very tempting for almost everybody to do under the table dealings because of the high taxes.
Yeah.
And I've had showings with a realtor that I had just met, and within the 10 minutes they would tell me stuff like, hey, so this home is for 150, but the owner will sell it for 120 if you give them 20,000 on the side and we sign for 100,000, or stuff along those lines, right? Which is clearly illegal. But I mean, another thing for consideration is that a little over 36% of Portuguese gross domestic product is taxation.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yes, like
what was that percentage again? 40?
Over
Is that what you said?
36%, 36 point something.
36. Wow, that's a
lot. Almost everybody, like you go to the feira, right? The markets, they don't ask, they don't care. You give them the cash, they give you the goods, you go on. Yes. And then the cops sometimes show up, and here's the box, just 500. Never mind the 2,000 in the hidden somewhere.
Yes, because there are GNR cards, aren't there, with fiscal written on them? So there is a branch of the GNR that deals with those sorts of situations, is there, that might check occasionally?
Yeah. And so I'm not convinced that Portugal will become cashless. If it does ever grow into some sort of digital thing, I'm guessing they will find something off-grid, quote unquote, something that's not really government controlled, like maybe crypto or something, or decentralized platform. But I don't know if enough people know about the technology to use it on a daily basis. So I don't know.
Or some sort of bartering token system, because human beings will make quite a lot of effort to avoid being ensnared, as they obviously already are. I mean, Pete is saying, at least his estimation, at least half of Portugal's economy is black cash, and no tax is very prevalent. And it's a fascinating thing to consider, really, isn't it? That whilst many people who are new or want to move to Portugal are very appreciative of its socialistic fabric, the reality of how that is funded is clearly very different, isn't it? Yeah, so we've got a moral and ethical model of how people might look after each other and how that's funded. Yet the everyday reality of that is people would rather not pay tax, or not pay it in the way that is set up, because it's rather punitive or unfair. So there is some work to be done.
No, absolutely. And it's very costly to have a company here in Portugal. So for example, let's say I hired you and I pay you minimum wage, which is like 700 euros a month or something. I would have to, for you to receive 700, which you then would have to pay around 110 social security, I would need to pay from my company bank account about 1,150.
Yeah.
So you would only receive about half of what I would spend in my company to keep you there. Yeah. And for example, the other thing too is that if you're the manager of a company, you must have your own salary and pay social security. So you also need to go through that with you. So plus the accountant fees, which you need to have an accountant, plus a bunch of other things. So you're burning at least, 700 or more euros per month just to have a company open. I need clients, please help. No.
That's right. Well, it keeps you on your toes, doesn't it? It keeps you busy, having to pay all these extra costs and so on. The cost of doing business, and it is considerable, and it's also quite administratively heavy here in Portugal as well. Yes. So it's worth knowing about that. Thank you for that. We weren't expecting to be talking about that. Not only those woes, but IMT got mentioned as well. So I don't know how much experience or how help you can give us with IMT. Back to you, James, for your IMT update. Then, how did it go with your visit?
Well, the bottom line is, and hang on, I'll make it a visual.
What's happening?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm making it visual because I like to do that.
Okay. We're doing some improv. I like this. Okay. I'll check you out.
I have my temporary driver's license. It took me over a year.
Yes.
It took me over a year to get the appointment. It took me 15 minutes to get the temporary. So anyway, I'm thrilled about that. So that all worked out. And really what it brought my attention to is all this talk about the bureaucracy. So it's easy for me to say it took over a year just to get the appointment. And yes, that was a nightmarish morass getting through the paperwork and the requirements of not just Portuguese bureaucratic requirements, but also US, getting the documents I needed from the US to do it. So I could focus on that and say, yeah, bureaucracy this, bureaucracy that. In Portugal, you have an appointment at 8 a.m. and they don't see you that day, so you have to come back the next day. All these things that people say. But when I look at what's my experience been, like if I'm going to be mindful, and that's the whole focus of this, and I look at what is the reality of my experience, my CEF appointment was at 9 o'clock. I got called in at 9:10, and I was out the door with my residency at 9:20. I mean, boom, boom, boom. Psh, done.
James, hold it right there. I'm going to upgrade that round of applause to one of these. You get one of those, my friend, and quite rightly so. And all of the team, everyone who made that possible, including your agent, all the IMT staff, everybody involved. Well done,
I'd like to thank my mother. Yeah.
Did you stand outside on the steps of IMT holding your
Well, that was what I just reported was CEF, my initial residency. So that was one experience of bureaucracy where right on schedule, right on time, called in, boom, 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 20 minutes later, I'm done. Well, I had a nearly identical experience with IMT. The challenge was in finding it. They were in the dead center of a huge shopping center in Lisbon, in a place I'd never been. It took me a half hour just to find where the place was, but I found it, and I was there early. So I showed up for my appointment. It was the first appointment after the lunchtime. So I saw them show up 10 minutes before my appointment time. Of course, I forgot to take a number because I had an appointment, and in the United States, that's kind of redundant. It's like you have an appointment, but take a number anyway. So I got the number, and I thought, oh, great, I've been here an hour. I could have been the first one on this, and now I don't know where I am in the queue because I just got my number now. Turns out I was first in the queue anyway. So that's just me and my confusion getting used to the system. But in terms of what actually happened in reality, 1:30, my number came up. I went to the desk, took care of business. 15 minutes later, I had my driver's license. Excellent. So I could focus on all the things that didn't go wrong and complain about the bureaucracy and all the ways that things could be better, and never even mention the things that went right. And that is a key example of a confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. I would not be looking for the things that went right. Yes. Because my way of thinking is bureaucracies suck. Bureaucracies, are slow. They're clumsy. They don't work. And here I have two personal experiences of things going tick, 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 just the way they were supposed to. That until I stopped and became mindful of that, it would never have been mentioned. So I want to mention that as well. And I know people have a whole range of experience. People go, oh man, you're so lucky that happened for you. Maybe, but I'm just saying it doesn't always go the way we talk about. We love to complain about it. And for me, the actual experience of finding the AMT office and showing up and getting my driver's license was as smooth as it could have been. So I'm thrilled. It took me 6 hours to do it by using public transportation, finding the place, being there early. By the time all was said and done, by the time I returned home, it was 6 hours later. But the appointment itself went exactly the way it was supposed to.
We do recommend a day out for any bureaucracy. So if it doesn't work out, you've at least had a nice day out. Congrats, James, says Antonio, and Pete Parabéns from Pete as well. What do you have to say about this, Vitor? You were about to throw a book at us, I think.
Because for all this time, I thought when you talked about IMT, you were talking about property taxes.
Oops.
Could you please establish the difference for us, the distinction with those two things? Because that's useful information.
IMT is like Imposto Municipal de Transações, I think. So it's like when you buy a property, you need to pay taxes based on the property amount. And I thought that's what we were about here.
That's why you came here today.
You then showed that document, and I'm like, that doesn't look like a tax document. Oh,
he's smiling.
IMT.
Yes. Well, okay. So there's two kinds of IMT, everybody, in Portugal. One is what the Americans are used to as the DMV, it's the equivalent, or DVLA in the UK, and the property tax is the other one. So thank you for that distinction there. Let's unite. We have a shared interest, I think, in personal development. Let's call it that. And I saw one of your wonderful. You're quite the memer. And I think we can bring in our psychotherapist, our formerly practicing psychotherapist, to talk about this meme of, we were talking about money earlier on. Oh, Sweden are trying to ring me again. Some people are investments and some people are bills. Read that again. All right, I will. Some people are. Do I have to keep reading it? I could just do it twice.
Oh, yeah.
Some people are investments.
Bottom. Stop.
Some people are investments and some people are bills. What do you, bringing in your obvious expertise, which we take for granted as somebody helps people who buy property, find property and buy it in the north of Portugal, Vitor. What I really admire about you is your interest in personal development and, being a better business guy, being a better human being and all that sort of stuff. What is this about, though, this particular one? What do you make of it?
There are a few other analogies that could also be said there. Like some people are assets, some people are liabilities. Some people add stress, some people remove stress. Some people contribute to your life, some detract from it. Yes. And everybody in our life is either one or the other, and they can change depending on the situation, depending on the topic, so on and so forth. I'm not saying that they're bad people in any way, but it's important to be aware of where you're going. For example, we have some friends that from high school and stuff that we hang around with, but when we do, we don't really evolve ourselves, or we don't really move forward too much. It's more of just spending some time off, let's say. But there are other people like you guys, for example, that whenever we talk, we learn something new. We get more energy. We learn. At least that's how I
sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes this is just like we're just toxic waste. Anyway. That being said, that's maybe it's important to have that awareness, because as I was growing up, maybe even before I was paying attention to this whole personal development thing, I would hear people say, "Oh, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with," and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, but that's nonsense. Like, I like my friends; they're cool, and there's no real problem in me hanging out with them. And many times that can be true. But what I now realize is that when you start meeting people that are more successful than you, that they're at a higher ranking, or whatever you want to call it, that know more than you, that can teach you about something. If you spend more time with those people, you'll learn more, your life will become better, you'll become more effective, you'll understand and learn other things better, you'll have more opportunities, you'll be able to build your life and get closer to your goals. And then when you realize that, you'll notice that time spent with people who don't do that, it kind of becomes wasted time, quote unquote. You can still do it. Just be aware that you're doing it and why you're doing it.
Very good. Thank you so much for that.
And I believe we learn from everybody. So it's the company you keep is sort of what Vitor is saying. If you're around people that you respect and admire, whatever their assets are, and however you measure success, you're going to learn those things from them. if you're hanging around people who just really love watching television and drinking beer, then you're going to learn how to do that really well and possibly even enjoy it. And I'm not trying to be, it's difficult to find the opposites or what feel like the opposite without being judgmental. But I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with a particular way, but you're definitely going to become familiar and learn more from the people that you hang out with.
Yes. And sorry, go on, Vitor.
No, I can give a perfect example that just popped into my head. Many people know Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki wrote that book for investment. His wife, Kim Kiyosaki, wrote a book called Rich Woman, which I listened to. I think the audiobook is probably free on YouTube, so anybody can look it up. And there was a passage that was in particular, it stayed with me very much, and it really explained the situation. So long story short, the book is about how she met with her high school friends after years of not seeing each other. Everybody kind of had their own lives, but they were all kind of stuck. And Kim was already a real estate investor. And she talked to them about investing, and everybody was very interested because they felt like they were in a rut. And so she started helping some of them to learn more about the subject. And then one of those friends, she met with her, they did a plan, what kind of investment she would want to do, her investment profile, all of that good stuff. Then they started looking for real estate properties. Eventually, they found one that would have been perfect. It fit, it would cash flow, it would have all of the qualities she was looking for. It was a great investment. They were excited, perfect, have at it, that's your first investment, good luck, blah, blah, blah. A week later, she called back her friend. So how did it go? How's your new investment going, and so on and so forth? Oh, I decided not to go ahead with it. What? Why not? That was a perfect place. Oh, I know, but then I was talking to my friend Becky, and she was talking about how investing is risky, and then maybe the tenant will have a leaky toilet in at 3 a.m. and then they would call me. And then, yeah, actually, I thought about it, and yeah, it is risky, and blah, 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 blah. And I figured I better not. And it's like, does your friend Becky invest in real estate? No. Has she ever invested in real estate? No. Has she ever talked to someone who invested in real estate? No. Then why are you listening to her? I invest in real estate. I did it with you. I do this all the time, and I showed it. And this is a perfect example of some people being assets and others being liabilities. Some can teach you and help you push forward. The others, because, and this is rooted in actually, caring for you. And more specifically, they want you to remain the same person you've always been.
Yes.
You evolve, then you stop being Carl. You become another Carl. And that other Carl is different. Maybe you stop smoking, and now, you used to be a smoker and everybody smoked. And now you stopped smoking. And so now you're different. And it reminds your smoking friends that now, you did something that they want to do and they don't do it. So subconsciously, if you are ever trying to, quit smoking or whatever, in some ways, they would keep you from not doing that. Anyway, that's another conversation.
It was a nice spin-off this morning. And we've only got a few minutes to go this morning. We will continue.
Call that, by the way, crabs I'm familiar with the term crabs in a basket.
Yes.
Because when you catch crabs, they tend to climb on the one above them because they want to get out. And what ends up happening is they pull them back into the basket. That's the analogy. Crabs in a basket is our social networking. Yeah.
Don't be a boiled frog. Don't be a crab in a basket. Absolutely brilliant. And we'll continue our personal development theme with Benjamin Stubbs, who'll be with us for the Iberian FM phone-in from 10 o'clock. So perhaps we should round up. We've been random, but that's Mondays for you. And we've got Jim White in, Bon dia todos. And we've also, I thought Antonio Costa had quit while we were live on air. Let's go back to Pete's comments, of which there is one about the Prime Minister. I only learned last night how much on average the GNR are paid as their salary. It is absolutely, and then he doesn't finish his sentence.
Absolutely.
It's just absolutely paid every month. Bon dia todos, parabéns, James, from Bob. And Bob says about you, this is the other thing, it's all very well looking at other people, isn't it? Are they an asset or a liability? But what are we? And you, my friend Vitor, are an asset. You've definitely.
I knew that $5 bribe was worth it.
It's perfect.
I'm happy to call Vitor an asset.
And a liar.
My asset.
IMT was the DGV, Instituto de Mobilidad y Transporte, IMT there. TAP, there goes another prime minister. So I guess any prime minister has to deal with the TAP situation might have that undermining their political career. That Two Towers restaurant that I asked about earlier on used to be the place for pizzas, but now there's a new kid in town shown in other historic bike video. I said Central Pizza do a great prato do dia also. That's Mama Rosa there, I believe. Only just joined. But she loves the party. What's with the congratulations? Congratulations, James, for whatever fab reason we're celebrating. It's our new electricity price, love. Rich Dad ethos. Do everything through debt and don't pay tax.
I think that was a driver's license, just so you know.
Yes, yeah, it is. So not a fan there.
So I don't have to come back next week and talk about that.
Yes. There is never a plan B, just another plan A. Vitor Costa, love it. Owen, good morning to you. And apologies, they get around €1,000 a month. Wow, that is not very much for a position of such responsibility, is it, for the GNR there? I wonder if they get overtime and other... They do get boots and spurs, which I think...
And most Portuguese people will be like, oh my God, that's such a high salary.
Yes, right. Absolutely. It's all relative.
It's
all right,
definitely above minimum wage.
We have Benjamin breathing down our neck, which is actually a very nice sensation.
I would imagine. I was just getting like, ooh.
So let's leave him hanging there a bit longer as we round up. James, you first.
Oh, round up. Ah!
Come on, all right. Vitor, you first.
It popped in my head in that moment, and that is, in effect, watch your confirmation bias. If you want to be mindful, you want to be awake, and you want to be moving forward, look at the places that you could actually have a different opinion based on your own experience, rather than just confirming the things you think you already know.
Oh, yes.
Stop it, you idiot.
That was the wrong
Who was that?
That's what I meant to do there. But we were talking to the people who do confirmation bias. Stop it, you idiot.
Yes.
Well, don't do it so much anyway. And before you go, how about you explain yourself with this?
Okay, more of my dad joke memes. I just got a job sketching suspects for the police. That's right. I'm a con artist.
Yikes. Okay, thank you so much for that. To you, Vitor, I mean, you might have peaked early with some of your pithy wisdom, and you came right in with something about cousins and aunties. Did you want to add anything in conclusion, apart from where to get great electricity prices?
Yes. So the other day I saw a guy ask his father, Dad, did you get shot in the army? No, I got shot in the leggy.
Yeah, it's a granddad joke, that. While we're on a roll, a farmer used his stimulus check to buy baby chickens. He got his money for nothing and his chicks for free.
For free.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that is good. I don't always share my thoughts. I don't always share my thoughts, but when I do, you'll never speak to me again. That is so true about some people, isn't it? My landlord told me we need to talk about the heating bill. They're obviously not with Vitor and his new electricity tariff. Sure, I said, my door is always open. Okay, great stuff. Gentlemen, you have been legends as ever, and I think you know that. But take some applause. And we'll see you again soon. See you next Monday, James and Vitor. Looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, boys.
Always a pleasure.
All right, ciao, fellas. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great week. Bye for now.
And Read the Rich Woman. It's a good book.
That music rocks along nicely, didn't it?
Do you know what? That's the highlight of the week for me.
I love it.
Love it.
And my dog started barking. The studio is downstairs now, Benjamin. Good morning to you, by the way. Great to see you.
Yeah, good morning. I'm loving the plants. Very.
Very yes, it is a green screen.
Is it?
No, but they're green, you see. It's a joke.
Oh, jeez.
Organic green
I
screen.
did like the jokes before, actually.
It's our pleasure. T-Duck served up some crackers this morning. And I was, the dog started barking outside. The studio's downstairs. And I was singing Who Let the Dogs Out over and above that track. And I was just like, who let the dogs out? It was great. It was great. So how do we improve upon that, my friend? Great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Author of the 30-day boot camp, the Guide to Happiness, that is an Amazon sensation. How's it going so far with the early sales?
Good, thank you. Yeah, it's just getting on with it, and it's out there now. And I've got my next book talk in a month, which is really good. You've got
a bit of a tour.
Pardon? Well, I'm touring around kind of my local area because obviously it's nice that people around me kind of want to be in it, if that makes sense. So so yeah, hopefully further afield at some point, maybe Portugal.
You'll be very welcome. And we were talking about we're going to have weekends around the country. If you flew over for one of those, what a lovely thing to do. Hang out, talk about the book. That'll be wonderful. And you've already been very generous, of course. Last week, we had the tip from you, which was to smile as often as you can and for no particular reason. Already quite guilty of this particular one. And I enjoyed it when I remembered to do it. What's the feedback you tend to get from people with this one?
I think people do naturally just feel better. I think sometimes they feel a bit silly at first, like people are looking at them, but why? Because it feels unnatural if you're naturally smiling for no reason. Yeah. But yeah, it's just it's not meant to be like you're walking around like this, or you feel like that forced kind of like school photographer look. It's just more natural, it's just a natural, because you kind of, what changes first? I think we discussed it last week, but you've got to change that loop somewhere. So somewhere, it could be sometimes starting with the body, starting with the mind, but it's all interlinked. So they prove that just smiling just for 5 minutes lifts your mood, because you start to trick your brain that you are smiling, you got something to smile about. It's all interconnected, Carl. Do you know what I mean? It's just finding a way of stopping. So basically all we do is we run on patterns. We just run. Our brain is a computer. It just runs on patterns. Copy, paste, right, off we go. Run. Yeah. We just got to find ways of kind of stopping it and then kind of going, right, okay, what do I want instead then? And that's basically what the whole book's about. The book isn't, obviously I'm not picking your words, but I don't people think it's a kind of, it's a starting, that's why I've called it the beginner's class. It's a starter class for the happiness. So by that, I mean, it starts to get people thinking about it. It starts to get people looking at what things they're doing that they're probably tripping themselves up without realizing it. So it's like a starter pack to go, right, let's stop doing the things that aren't helpful. Like we said before, let's stop doing the things that are making us unhappy, and then let's see what's left. Because the word happiness just creates quite a lot of...
It is such an awkward thing, isn't it? And there you are, an author of a happiness book, and you do have a lot of explaining to do with that particular part of it, I know.
The biggest bit is the word, isn't it? Because
it is.
Even when we had someone, the first week I was on, someone said, well, I think happiness is contentment. And they weren't obviously questioning me, but it was like, they didn't see, that's what I think happiness is. So it's just, I thought it was something else. So
it's not unusual, is it? As it were, no. as Tom Jones once said, for humanity to be having this problem. I mean, take God, for example. This is people aren't even getting to the conversation about what God means to them. They're fighting about, not understanding each other, what their definitions are and what their meanings are, before we get onto anything useful. And that's such a shame. But I guess it is part of being a human being, isn't it? Is like questioning your meanings and communicating well.
Yeah, and the thing is, we discussed. I heard a bit before about bias, and that's the exact same thing. A lot of times, with that's why they say don't talk about religion, sport, or religion, sport, or politics, because
politics for sure.
It kind of stimulates the cognitive dissonance in us, and cognitive dissonance is basically that part of us that we only have those really strong beliefs. Goes against it, even with facts, they will not. They'll find any way to justify it. You saw a lot of politics, like, for example, I was going to talk about it massively. But in the UK, what happened with Partygate, with Boris, etc., this is not, I'm taking sides, I'm just talking about generally. When you went to anyone that kind of confronted certain things, they they'll go, oh, well, everyone does it. Every politician's bad. Rather than just discussing the actual fact that went on, they'll deflect it. So I think you're absolutely right. So I think people with this, it's trying to find those biases and push them to one side. And I think the key, if we're going to kind of obviously do this next few weeks, is probably saying we're trying to release the things that make us unhappy.
Exactly.
And, probably the best way. And then see what's left. But I genuinely think what's left is a better feeling. And if that's defined as happiness, then we're on the way.
So be it. Fantastic. Okay, Jim White is thanking us for the last segment and is here. And he's saying, look, yeah, people do love their definitions of happiness. And we love to hear them, by the way, Jim.
Yeah.
Happiness is a practice or a set of practices.
Yeah.
A bit like those cartoons, Happiness Is. But do you remember those? And of course, Ken Dodd's great song, Happiness.
He knew what he was doing with that song. He knew.
Not everyone else realised, though, did they? Like grandma's rocking in her chair singing it. Everyone else
I bet she was rocking in a chair.
Oh, I'm a big Ken Dodd fan. He's lovely. If we were happy all the time, we would just be using the Neanderthal invented rope. What does that mean? Surely what we would be like the Neanderthal who invented rope. Surely it is more about targeting what you want to achieve. That's why I love pinball. I don't know if there's a joke in there somewhere, or if that's he actually loves pinball. Pinball's a great metaphor for life, though, isn't it? Of course, you don't push too hard, otherwise the tilt light comes on, and you can sometimes the ball goes through the gap through no fault of your own. It would seem it's the way the ball bounces, as it were. So tell us more on that, Pete. You have another tip for us this morning. Before we go there, another comment in from Rowan. Morning, gent. Now Rowan is one of the smiliest people I know. And as well as smiling oneself for no particular reason and feeling the benefit, it is lovely to be around smiley people. And I need to acknowledge you, Rowan, as one of the smiliest fellas I've ever met. And it's infectious when you're around. We had a lot of fun working and hanging out together, as we have done in the last 10 years or so when we first met. So, Rowan, great to see you here this morning. I hope you pick up something that's useful to you today. Yes, so we did the smile and the smiling for no reason, seeing what happens. If anyone wants to report back on that, I'll be glad to see that in the comments here. And you've another one for us today, a free gift, really. That's how you refer to it in the book.
Yes. Oh, someone's read my book, Carl.
Come on. What do you think?
Good boy.
I read that book.
Yes. So basically, I just want to point out one thing about someone commented about happiness. You don't want to be happy all the time. And it's a good kind of just talking point, really. Obviously, I know someone's commented, so I want to kind of respond to that. Again, this is where the happiness is not obviously dissing this point. What I'm saying for me, the definition of happiness is obviously so grey in a lot of ways. But happiness in some ways for me is making peace with, when things don't go our way. So when we're unhappy, we're kind of unhappy. We're happy with being unhappy. I think it's more the idea of a contentment thing, like we said on one of the original first weeks. So when things don't go my way, because I'll send it for next week. I'll get it ready. I've spotted it. And I put it in a PowerPoint, but I won't be able to send it to you in time for this week. But there's just a kind of step-by-step, are you happy? It's a really cool little graphic about happiness. And it's basically, again, defining the thing of just letting go of your expectations. So normally unhappiness is when we're expecting something to happen the way we want to. But if we don't, that trust that it's not. Sorry, that's what Right, so today's tip is the 3-5. Oh, geez.
Is it bad? Do you need to stop and come back?
No, it's all right. I'm just thinking, I think you might think I'm flirting with you, Carl. Like I'm winking and my eyes.
I'm used to that. Are you breathing down my neck and winking at me?
I'll just power through with a twitchy eye. Right, I think we're near it. Right, okay, we'll continue. I'm just crying because I'm so joyful. So it's called the 3. I call it the 3-5 breathing technique. So because what they've proven through studies and through anxiety, etc., is if you breathe out for longer than you breathe in, it balances and resets your nervous system. So it just means that you calm down. So it's a great way to do regularly throughout the day. It's quite be good on this. If I was doing
what have you got there in your eye?
I don't know. I think it's an eyelash, but I'm just powering through, Carl. Do you know what I mean?
Do you want to go and flush it out?
No, I can do it.
A matchstick in it, all right.
No,
you're a trooper, aren't you?
Yeah, so basically, if you breathe in for three counts and breathe out for 5, so that's why it's called 3-5. The idea, I will give you an example. So the thing is with it, because the idea of the book again is to make it simple, otherwise you won't do it. I'm just telling people what to do. There are hundreds of breathing techniques out there. There's the square breathing. There's the in this nostril, out through that nostril. This is just really simple, and they've just proven, like I said, if you breathe out for longer than you breathe in, it calms you down. So you just got to remember this. Really easy. Breathe in for 3, out for 5, for 3 to 5 minutes. So I'll count with my fingers. And I'll give you an example just in case.
Okay. So we probably won't do it for 3 to 5 minutes, but we'll
no. I'll just give you an example. I'll do like 5. You ready?
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Makes you a little bit calmer.
If you just tuned in, you have been greeted by the sound of heavy breathing. It's just 2 men, and one of them's got something in his eye, and the other one's glad to see him.
Oh, Carl, I've missed you so much. Someone that is just pathetic as me. I look.
None taken. Right. Well, let's see how that went down. And it's often the way people watch and don't take part. So it's still not too late. You can do this while you're watching, listening.
The idea of it
3
is
and
just
5. Go on. Yeah. What is the idea? What's the science, man?
People wait until, especially with mental health. And where I'm working at the moment, I've got a consultancy. So I'm in 8 weeks in a local college working with students one-on-one. It's great, having lovely feedback. But what the thing is that everyone waits for is the kind of crash and burn. So, right, someone's really mentally struggling, let's send them for help. What we should be looking at more is preventative. So preventative mental health. So if you start to feel it's a little bit aggy or a little bit
what?
Aggy.
All right. Okay.
So aggy, with subtitles.
Edgy, yeah.
Aggy means
agitated.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it's from.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just when you start to feel yourself, so don't wait until you're really peed off about something. Or don't wait until your day has got to like 80-90%. It's just wait until when you start to feel a little bit, just go, okay, I'll just do it. I'll just breathe in for 3, out for 5, in for 3, out for 5. And the great thing is you can do it in the office. You can do it on a train. You can do it at the bus stop. You know what I mean? You can do it wherever. No one's going to know you're doing it. So it's not like you have to kind of like with tapping or certain other things where you're doing this and doing that and doing this and doing this. You know, you can do it quite easy.
Absolutely right. And if nothing else, focusing on your breathing instead of whatever else it was that was doing your head in is going to be beneficial, isn't it? The simplicity of this is absolutely devastating.
And I think as well, half of it is probably that as well, because you're focusing on your 3-5, 3-5, you know, as well. I think that's part of it. I think it's all inclusive because, again, your brain runs on patterns and momentum. So you can imagine a train running at 100 miles an hour. You won't suddenly stop it. And that's why people think, I'll give up on this. I can't do it. My mind never stops. It's because people try and suddenly stop that train. You can. You've got to then train yourself. I think someone said it before, happiness is a practice. You know, letting go is a practice. And it's all about then just finding ways to slow it down. Another analogy is if you shake a snow globe, you wouldn't just suddenly stop and go, why is it all snowy? You know, it takes time to calm down. So what I try and do with my work is try and make it relevant and make it like using metaphors to make people go, oh yeah, it does take time. And oh yeah, the snow globe does settle. It's just, you've got to find those simple techniques, hence the book, to help you make that shift. So the book is, like I said, it's a starting point, people to go find ways of just being a bit calmer, letting go of the things that make them unhappy, and then see what grows. And it might be they are a lot happier. It might be they're pulled in a certain direction. You know what I mean?
I love it. You remember we had a lot of fun on Blog Talk Radio. We'd have random and aggy comments, wouldn't we? We might have got one here. Look, the Ancient Mariner, can I have this part of my life back, please? No, sorry, it's gone, Ancient Mariner. What's up with him? Do you think? Has he got a bit of Monday morning?
Do you know what? I missed them ones. You used to get some real abuse.
We used to get some. Yeah, this is nothing to us.
This is nothing.
But what's your beef? Come on, talk. You can talk to me. Carl and Ben are here, and if he's got agitated, or Aggie as you put it, Eggy even, it's probably not us, is it? It's probably he's got. This is another interesting thing, and it might come up, or it might be one of the more advanced books. But if anyone gets a bit agitated, it might not be the thing in front of them that's doing it. It might be underlying agitation and stuff that is unresolved stuff that is being triggered. So, we are here for you, Ancient Mariner. If you have been triggered by us hanging out, having a good time here, and endeavoring to have the world a more happy place, and I hope that's really guilted you up, us putting it like that. The
thing is, Carl, like it's going back to kind of cognitive dissonance again.
Yes,
this is nothing against this person, whatever.
He can take it. I know him personally. He can take it.
Yeah, no. The thing is that if we tell someone not to do something, then we'll just fight back. Kids, the biggest example, tell them not to do something, they want to do it, and vice versa. The thing is, for us, we've got to do this without allowing people free will of their choice. If they don't like it, it's only our choice then to get offended by it. As long as they're not nasty and they're not calling me out and threatening in abusive behaviour, absolutely free will not to like it. And then it's only yours, but it's something to work on ourselves if we're bothered if people don't like it. If that's, I don't like mushrooms.
What?
I know.
Sorry, we can't be friends. He's got to go. Somebody, unbelievable.
No, what I'm saying is like the mushroom doesn't get offended, does it? So if they don't like it,
well, they do say that. It's a bit like octopuses. I found out that octopuses are much more intelligent than I originally have assumed whilst eating them, and now I feel a bit bad about it. Hasn't stopped me eating them, by the way. But mushrooms might be. I mean, they are super intelligent, but however, they might be so intelligent. It's true what you're saying. They don't get offended by other people's opinions, because that would be a hallmark of great intelligence, wouldn't it? To not be bothered by what other people think, and that to me is a great sign of intelligence and maturity.
I think it's easier said than done. Obviously.
Oh hell yeah, yes,
of course. No, it's just something that I always ask myself: like, why am I bothered what they think, and why is my self-worth, based on that? And that's why I just kind of, again, it's just training my brain to go, just giving it the logistics of it, like, just the fact that why does their opinion affect me? Yes. Why do I have to allow it to affect me? And then, but of course, society, it's normal to be offended. But it's just something that I try and do if I do get some negative questions. But also I'm thinking, it's up to them if they don't agree with it. I don't like mushrooms.
Has that yes. Has that changed for you over the last decade or so, with that being bothered in that way?
I'm bothered less and less and less. And what I do is I thought that the way I can describe it is like, you get thrown off the horse. So if someone says a really nasty comment, you get thrown off the horse for like a while and you really doubt yourself. Yeah. Now I'm like, and then I'll go, Ben, but they've got free will, and does it make any difference to you? And I just then remember people that have helped and realize that we don't all like the same taste in music. We all don't like the same pizzas. We all don't like the same food. We all don't like, do you know what I mean? So they've got free will not to like it. And why is it wrong? You could say why they'd be nasty, but then that's when it's down to them. I said to my nephews once who were getting bullied at school, I said, do you think those bullies are happy or sad? And in both of them in their own time, when I've had this discussion, said sad. I said, they're not happy. I said, so they shouldn't take it out on us. But I said, that's obviously what they're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting. I think Ancient Mariner is trying to write a blog post in the background. We might be disturbing him.
I like a bit of banter.
We do love a bit of banter. I am. Oh no, I am asthmatic, so I always take longer to breathe out anyhow. So I'm sorry to laugh at that, but yes, we didn't do any housekeeping or safety warnings, did we? On that basis, morning to you, Ancient Mariner. Thank you for being part of this. Your energy is contagious. Thank you. Cheers, Jim. I think he's talking to you largely there. Although I think I might be getting a bit with the energy reframe.
No, I think we have a good working relationship. Like we are kind of quite childlike in our humour. We have the same passion for change. So I think we just gel.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And what the gift, I suppose, in the getting knocked off the horse is, and I've heard Dane here talk a lot about this, the access consciousness guy, who's fantastic. But if you are a little bit hooked by somebody's put down and feedback, there might be something in it to work on, which doesn't make them right or wrong. It just makes it very interesting that when you say we're childlike, I'm like, that's great. That's a compliment. Yeah. But if someone says to me, you know, you're really immature and childish and irresponsible, then that's going into a territory where I might get the chip on my shoulder might get activated by that. And then there's a little bit of work to do. So all these things are gifts, aren't they?
Everything. Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, critique can be emotionless. By that I mean, I could come off this and think, Ben, you mumble too, or you speak too fast. That is absolutely fine for me to go, right, well, next time I'll try and speak slower. Probably not for you, so we get all giddy and silly and laugh. But professionally, but what I have got slower speaking in my time. But then there's a difference between me being critical or taking genuine critique, than me going, oh, you're rubbish. Oh, geez. Can you feel the difference? So we can still critique ourselves without any dissing of ourselves or beat ourselves, beating ourselves up.
Beat yourselves up. Sorry. Okay.
I nearly said that, and then I was like, what am I saying here? Yeah.
A friend said, what you think of me is none of my business. And that's the really ultra version of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's true. It's so true, isn't it? Deep breathing is a great technique for students. I've been using it for 30 years. I tend to do it out for 7 and a pencil in front of them to get them to clear that state. What is that? Why does he put a pencil in front of them? How does that?
I've not seen that one. But that's what I said. Everything
they blow the pencil over. Maybe.
Possibly, yeah. But the thing is, this is what I mean. There's all different ways. It's just finding the reason why I said this was I just picked one because otherwise, if it's too complicated. But yeah, there's all different ways, and obviously some probably work more, more intensely. But some are a bit more tricky to do, like the breathing. Breathe through this and breathe through that. So, I've not seen the pencil one, but
but that reminds me of the accountant. How did the?
I know. How did the accountant?
Constipated. How does an accountant deal with constipation? He works out with a pencil. Okay, I hate to say it, but smoking is usually deep breathing with a device. It's true. There's no question about that. When people smoke, they are regulating their breath. They are doing a pattern interrupt, aren't they? And that's why it's not just the nicotine, is it? It's the whole ritual of smoking that's addictive, I think, that people like.
If you think about it, it goes back to the placebo. I'm not saying that all the nicotine effects are placebo. What I'm saying is so many things are placebo. What's placebo? Power of the mind. All we're doing here is consciously breathe in for 3, out for 5, or blowing the pencil.
Oh my God.
What? Yeah.
Don't say that in school. Anyway, go.
But you get, I have to literally have a filter. I've got a 1-second filter. I have to watch what I'm about to say.
Because actually what you're thinking is much worse than is coming out, right?
After. And that's the thing. So a lot of it is placebo. So what I love doing when I do talks about this is when people say, oh, it's hippie rubbish. I'm like, what? Yes. And I get the placebo. The first thing I always come back to, and I've got a slide about it, is placebo. Everyone knows what the placebo effect is. So I say, just take a second to think of the enormity of that our power of our mind, people believed that pill was going to do something for him, and it did. Jones has some really, really cool facts about placebo. I think I might have said this last week. One, the name of the drug affects it. So they found that if they called it happy pill, it didn't have the same effects as hydroxychloroquine, the name of it. Also, the doctor, if the doctor was young, they didn't work as well as when the doctor was old. And the colour of the pill, and I can't remember which one it was because I get confused. Red or blue, one of them works better. So it just shows you all about the power of our mind. So that the breathing,
the blue pills seem to work very effectively, don't they? But the classic blue pill, of course, is the one that does the biz. Anyway, what I was thinking about when you were saying that is it's a sign of the world we live in, isn't it? It's like, hi, everybody. I've come to talk to you about being happier. And people start heckling, hippie rubbish, placebo. Like, what? I'm here to help. It's so funny, isn't it?
But going back to this cognitive dissonance, it's so fascinating. That's why in the talks I always talk about it in detail, because we have to realize if people have dragged their husbands or dragged their wives along, they're going to be like, nope. So whatever you say, they're going to be like, nope. Yeah. So if they're unhappy and they don't think they can change who what there is, they will just not agree with it. Even if we said facts, this is a fact, that's a fact, they'll be like, "Ugh," because that's how they get away with that's how they deal with cognitive dissonance. Rather than taking a second to go, actually, I'm wrong. They won't admit they're wrong. Yeah. So they'll just be like, even if we've got facts in front of them, facts against politicians or facts against farmer or facts against whatever, they'll just be like, "Oh, no, it's rubbish."
Yeah. It's rubbish. And I'm only here because I'm allowed to have a pint after it's over. My wife's dragged me along. Yeah, it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tough crowd, Benjamin. I am asthmatic. Yeah. So sorry about that, Ancient Mariner. And did you just say that mushrooms are super intelligent? Seriously? You did. That's because I'm a fun guy. You're welcome, Ancient Mariner. Yes, of course. Mushrooms.
Did I say that? I don't remember saying that.
I'll take responsibility for that. It was me. It was me. The mushrooms, octopuses and mushrooms.
No, you said octopuses were super intelligent.
And I believe it to be the case for mushrooms as well. You said you didn't like mushrooms. I said they're intelligent because they don't take you personally when you say you don't like them. That is a sign of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yes, mycelium, the great networks, the forerunner of other life in the forest, for example.
Yes, I'm sure I watched something with, is it Joe Rogan? I'm sure they had interviewed the guy about the mushroom.
Must be true. Yeah, it must be true. If Joe Rogan's done it, definitely. That's a nice little trigger we get embedded in there. Right, so we're coming towards the end of today's session on the Iberian FM phone-in. We have stunned callers. No calls coming in, but this is a phone-in. 913-590-303. It's just been lovely to chat to you anyway. We've been doing some breathing. That is the homework for this week. I don't want actually calling it homework's disastrous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, let's call it a bit of fun that you can have. The free gift. That sounds so much better. The 3-5 breathing. Remember that for this week. Do try it. See you again next week. Before you go, though, Benjamin, I need to ask you this. I see on your website you have worked with a number of illustrious institutions that would include the Hall, Smith and Whittingham solicitors, the Metropolitan University of Manchester. You have these are your own meetup groups, I'm guessing.
Meetup was before, yeah.
Novus, Foundation for Change, South Cheshire College and West Cheshire College. Sounds like a bit of rivalry in Cheshire there. How is it going down with the young folk and the institutions? You know, this is great, the fact that they are asking you to come in and help people with their well-being. How's it going generally, and what's the reception from the students?
No, it's going really well. I will say some hot off the press news.
Go on.
I've been asked this week, guess where I'm doing a talk, so I can add another label to that. I'm doing a talk for Bentley. I've been asked to go into Bentley, you know, like the car manufacturer.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So what happens to you when you get asked into Bentley? Do you think it's got to be a shirt and tie job? What are you going to do?
I've got a special mankini with a Bentley logo.
Good choice. Good choice. You know like perfectly placed Bentley logo.
It's a very small Bentley logo.
Not a flying lady or a... Right, okay.
No, it's got. So going back to the course is going well.
Yes,
is in the students, and it's been a learning curve. Of course, it's been because every class is different. So I've got some small classes, some one-to-one, some that have got mentally. They've got more struggles. So I'm starting in different places. But what I like about it, without blowing my own trumpet, what I like about what I teach, for lack of a better word, is it's the same. Whether I'm speaking to a Bentley manager or a 16-year-old student. It's the same thing. Your mind's a muscle. We've got to pattern interrupt and start to install new stuff through repetition. That is it. That's how we learn new things. We override the old patterns, but we've got to keep at it. You won't go to the gym once and expect muscles. So,
and you might say, mightn't you, that a 16-year-old might be a little bit more open, but then again, they might not be because they've got peer group pressure. They've got quite a lot of cognitive dissonance and patterns already set, I guess.
Teenagers like a lot of and they've all been there. We've all gone through our like emo indie stage. Yeah. Like, you know, that. So a lot of them kind of like darkness. And I've said, like, well, you've got free will. I'm not here to tell you what to do. But in time, if you ever want to change your mindset, I say just use this knowledge.
Nice strategy.
In the sense of, like, I said, because the analogy I always say is, look, we know what foods we should eat. It's up to us whether we eat them or not. We know we should exercise and keep fit. It's up to us. We've got free will. Here's some knowledge about your mind. It's free will, teenagers. It's up to you what you want to do. But if you ever want to come back to this, you know, if you're starting to struggle, you can go back to this. And then that's where I leave it. I just leave it with them. And then it's up to them.
Oh yeah, because no one likes a proselytizer, do they? Or a fanatic who's only got one idea and that's all they're ever going to talk about. So I love it, and it's just so wonderful that you are doing this work. You're out there in the world. Ancient Mariner is not happy about this mushroom thing. It was Carl. No, he says mushrooms. Listen to it again. That's even more of your life.
What I love, Ancient Marina said he didn't get his time back, but he still listened.
He
likes the pain.
He does. He's loving it. He's loving it this morning. The Yoda toadstool. Check him out. Look, he's calling me the Yoda toadstool now. And they may be intelligent octopuses, but I wouldn't fancy being an octopus's mother. They get eaten by their babies. That is quite an intelligent survival strategy. And I wonder, finally, on a more serious note here from Jim. You must meet Jim if you come to Portugal. A meeting with Jim, I would thoroughly recommend. Benjamin is a fabulous fella who's been convening. He's literally written a book on running workshops. I have it in my office here. I wonder if dealing with cognitive dissonance is about not feeling safe. How do you help people feel safe enough to consider other possibilities? What a great question. Should we leave that hanging there, or would you like to have a little go at that?
Obviously, it's everything with bit by bit. So the idea with that would be just to be aware of it. As soon as you're aware of something, you're aware that you've got cognitive dissonance, and you're aware that stirs up a feeling of unsafe. It's then I know I keep saying aware, but that's where healing comes from. As soon as we become aware of something, it's not us. If we're not aware, it runs back here and just keeps repeating and repeating. As soon as we start to become aware of patterns, thought, beliefs, it is disconcerting at points. And that's where if I was working with someone, I'd say, you might feel a little bit like, well, who am I then if I'm not this? But as you start to let go and you start to see that and you start to experience that a few times, you realize that you are safe. So it's just like anything, it's just being easy on yourself. And if I was with a client, I'd just be like, you might feel a bit weird because it's not normal for you, but it's the power of awareness. As soon as you're aware of anything, they've done scans on the brain when they've done things similar to this, and the pathways have loosened. Joe Dispenza's done some interesting work on it. So just bit by bit really, and just aware of being unsafe. So
wonderful.
Have a journey, Carl.
Have a journey. Keep that awareness there if you can. And as sure as eggs is eggs, life will bring situations and circumstances to you that will help you to be more aware. That's how it seems to work, isn't it? No calls today. However, if it's WhatsApp, you can leave a message. If you'd like to spawn a further conversation this week, I know that Portugal has just passed a law to allow euthanasia here in Portugal. You might want to talk about that this week. And you can leave a message. You don't have to ring in during the show. WhatsApp's got this great feature. You can record a message and I'll play it. 913-590-303. Benjamin Stubbs, you've been amazing. You are encouraging people to do the free gift of breathing using the 3 seconds out, or the count of 3. The count of 3 in and the count of 5 out. Don't do it the other way around because you'll become more anxious. Although we could have a control group doing that, couldn't we? To see how stressed they actually become. So there it is. There is not your homework, but your free gift and something to play with and enjoy in the coming week. Benjamin, last word to you.
No, I'll just say, am I back next week? Shall I put it in my diary?
I hope so. I want 4 weeks from you if that's possible.
So I've got 2 more weeks, have I?
2 more to go. 2 more to go. Yeah.
Have a lovely week, everyone, and thank you for listening.
Marvelous. Thank you for listening. How about that? Take care, mate. Have a great week. Ciao for now.
Bye.